Coming up with prices for your custom web design or website templates when you're first starting out is pretty tough. Are you pulling prices out of thin air or just copying what other people are charging? Well, don't worry, because today I'm going to show you some really good methods to come up with pricing that you're confident in and that actually reflects the value of your services, and will also make sure that you're able to pay your bills and feed yourself every month. Make sure you watch this whole video, because all of these key tips to figuring out your pricing really only work when they're all used together. And the final tip for calculating your pricing is my absolute fave. When it comes to pricing your web design services, there are two main models I would recommend: hourly rate and project-based pricing. These models both have their own pros and cons, so it's important to choose one that aligns best with your business goals and the nature of your work. Hourly rate is pretty self-explanatory. You charge your clients based on the number of hours you work on their project. Project-based pricing is when you charge your clients a flat fee for the entire project rather than by the hour. This works best for projects with a well-defined scope and deliverables, as you can estimate the total cost of the project and present a fixed price to your clients. You can use a combination of these two also. So, for example, you could use project-based pricing if you've got a very well-defined project, like a web design project, for example. And then if the client asks for more along the way that isn't within the scope of the original project, you can add these extras on for an hourly rate. Special mention for subscription or retainer-based pricing. This probably isn't the first thing you'll go towards, but this is when you have your clients on a retainer or a subscription and they're paying a recurring fee for your services. This type of pricing can be really beneficial for you and for the client, as it provides a steady and predictable income and a convenient solution for the client. But this is something that might be a bit further down the track in your web design business, and it might be really great to offer this sort of pricing to clients you've already worked with on a single project, so you can continue working with them and keeping that relationship long term. Now, if you're selling products like website templates or website plugins or any other sort of product-based website things, you'll likely go for a fixed price. For example, buy one template for $200. You could also look into subscription-based pricing for your website design products. This is a little bit more advanced, but depending on what you're offering, this could be really beneficial as well. So it's definitely something to consider. One very important note about pricing your web design products, so like your templates and your plugins, etc., is that it's so critical to set up terms and conditions about what's included with either your fixed or even a subscription rate. Being product-based, it's really easy to use products over and over again or even resell products. So you need to make sure what your terms and conditions are for your products and make that very clear before someone purchases your product. For example, does one template purchase equal one use of the template, or does one template purchase equal unlimited use of the template? So things like that, you just want to figure out exactly what your product price includes. Okay, so now that we've covered types of pricing, let's jump into actually how to come up with your prices. Number one, let's talk about what is everyone else charging. When it comes to pricing your web design services, it can be tempting to look at what other designers in your market are charging and be influenced to adjust your prices based on what they're charging. So while it's good to have a good understanding of the market rates, it's actually really important to not solely base your rate on what other people are charging. And I find that when I talk to most new web designers, this is the first thing they look at and the first thing they use to come up with their prices. If you are scoping out what everyone else is charging, just make sure to, number one, focus on designers who've got a similar target audience and are offering similar services to yours. If the services are very different, or if the target audience is very different, comparing your prices might not be very helpful. Number two, you'll want to charge based on the value you provide. And we're going to get into this point a little bit more later. But if you're offering more services or a higher level of expertise or just more value in your services versus your competitors, it makes more sense to charge higher, or vice versa, charge lower. So when you're looking at your competitors, you can consider what's actually included within the service, and that might help you decide if you should be charging more or less. And number three, I would say that reputation really matters. As you continue to grow your business and reputation, the market rates become less relevant, as you'll be seen as an expert in your industry and you can maybe charge higher prices. So for example, if you're looking at another business that just has a huge following, maybe they've been in the industry for a while, people just love their brand, then they're probably charging more just because they can, and they have a line of people waiting to work with them because of their reputation. So you do have to think about that when looking at competitors. How much audience do they already have compared to you? And are their prices quite high because they have that audience already? You might not be able to charge as much as them just because they have an audience already and they have an existing great reputation and a line of people waiting to work with them. So it's good to have an understanding of the market rates and your competitor rates, but don't let that be the only factor in determining your prices because of all of the variables I just talked about. Number 2, and we kind of just touched on this, is what is the value that you're offering with your services and products? So when it comes to pricing your web design services and products, the value you offer plays a really big role. What's included in your web design services can really impact the price you charge. Consider the factors like the number of pages in a custom web design, or the length of each page, or are you including any additional resources or trainings? When you think about it logically, you would think that a 20-page website project is likely going to cost more than a 3-page website project, right? If you're selling website templates or products, the same principles apply. Basic templates with fewer pages and resources will generally be priced lower, while more complex templates with more pages, resources, and tutorials will have more value. Therefore, you can charge more. The value of your products is all about the level of service and resources you're providing, so make sure to consider these factors when coming up with prices. Number 3, and I love this one because I don't think a lot of people think about this enough, is who is your target audience or your ideal customer. When pricing your web design services, it's so important to consider your target audience and what they're looking for. So the most important thing to keep in mind, because we're talking about pricing right now, is their budget. Think about how much money your target audience or ideal customer actually has to spend. If you're targeting small businesses, they may have a lower budget, or if you're targeting large corporations, they probably can pay more, right? So don't price yourself out of the market that you're trying to be in. If you figure out that your target audience that you really want to work with just won't pay the prices that you want or need to charge, then you might have to reconsider your audience. Okay, my last recommendation for pricing, and my very favorite, and something that helped me out so much at the very beginning, is to just do the math. By using a simple equation, we can figure out exactly what you need to be charging for your web design services. This isn't quite as helpful for products, but it's still good to be applied. Just hear me out on the equation. Once you understand the gist of it, it'll help you with all your business planning and all your income planning and coming up with prices for basically everything. Okay, so the biggest problem with basing your price solely on what other people are charging is that you can't actually see what's going on behind the scenes. What bills are they paying? How much of that money is actually going into their pocket? What are their weekly expenses? Because you can't actually see any of this, for all you know, charging the same as someone else could have you actually struggling to make ends meet in your business and in your life. I see a lot of talk around the internet about how you should charge what you're worth. And while whoever says this has really great intentions, I'm sure, I think that your price should be much more math-based, and we should just leave our self-worth out of our pricing. Everyone's circumstances are different and everyone has different outgoings. So you need to price yourself according to your circumstances. So let's work backwards with this one. You might want to get some pen and paper out because we're going to be doing a bit of math. Also get your calculator out because I don't expect any of you to be doing math on pen and paper. Okay, so the first thing is we need to tally up everything that we want to make in a year. And I mean everything. So you might have to sit down and calculate your expenses, like your rent, your bills, your mortgage, more bills, food, more bills, so many bills. But we do have a lot of bills in the year, and tally all of those things up. Then I want you to calculate your leisure, or just how much it costs you to live a life, out of what your expenses are. So travel, petrol, shopping, your gym membership, just all of these things that it costs to live your life day to day. And then on top of that, I also want to put in your savings so you can actually have a bit of a savings goal. So how much do you want to be able to save and put aside and not spend? So this isn't going to be lumped in with your expenses or what it costs to live. This is literally what you're going to have in your savings at the end of the year, and you're not going to touch it, okay? You're not allowed to touch your savings. So tally up all of those things. It might be easier to just tally them up week by week and then figure out what the whole yearly expense is going to be. But I want you to come up with a yearly income goal. So it's going to include your expenses, your leisure, and your savings. Okay, so for my example, let's just say that number for me is $40,000. Kind of a random number, but I can do the math with this one. The next step is to add tax. So it's really important to remember to add tax. Otherwise, your yearly projections are going to be way off. The last thing you want is to get to the end of the year and think that you've made the $40,000 and then remember that you've got to pay 25% of that to tax and you're way under what you actually needed to make for the year. Depending on what your tax rate is, add it to the total cost of your yearly income goal. So if our yearly income goal is $40,000, then yes, I did the math before I started this. I'm not doing it in my head. Then we'll need to actually make $53,500-ish, because at the end of the year, we're going to pay a ton of that to tax, and I'm going to be left with my $40,000. So now I can say that my total yearly income goal is $53,500. Okay, so first let's calculate our hourly rate. So how many billable hours do you actually want to work on paid client work this year? Are you planning to take any holidays or having any time off? Make sure to calculate these things in. And remember that probably a lot of the work that you will be doing isn't billable. So if you want to do like 40 hours a week of work, then you're probably not going to be doing 40 hours of paid work. You'll probably be doing quite a bit of unpaid marketing, admin, and all those types of things that come with business. So just remember that you're going to have to fit those hours in too. So just calculate your billable work. Figure this out as accurately as you can by how many hours you plan to work for the year. So once you have that yearly income goal that we just talked about, and you know how many hours you want to work during the year, billable hours, you can divide your yearly income goal by the amount of hours. So for my example, I wanted to earn $53,500, and I've decided that I want to work 20 hours per week, which is 1,040 hours for the whole year. So $53,500 divided by 1,040 hours equals $51 per hour. So basically, I'm just trying to achieve that yearly income goal within the amount of billable hours that I'm going to work. So that's come to $51 per hour, which sounds pretty reasonable. And I think this gives you a really great starting point for what you need to be making per hour. Now you just need to focus on securing enough clients to actually meet that weekly, yearly billable hours goal. So now I actually need to work 1,040 hours, and I know that I'm going to hit my income goal. So very similar for project-based pricing, you need to figure out how long each of your projects are going to take. So if you haven't figured this out yet, this is really essential in coming up with your projects and being able to plan your year and figure out your prices. So if you've got website design service packages that have package-based pricing, you really need to make sure that you're specific to your clients about exactly what they get from the package, how many revisions they get, how many website pages they get, and every little detail. Because if this is clear, then you can really start to calculate how long these projects are going to take. And from there, you can figure out how many projects you can actually fit in during the year. For example, let's say each of your custom web design packages takes around 30 hours to complete. Depending on your lifestyle, you need to figure out how many of those you're willing to take on during the year. Again, are you planning to take a holiday? Are you taking time off? What other things are you going to be working on your business that aren't your paid projects? That's really important to factor that in. So then you can figure out, let's say that you're willing to take on one custom web design project that takes around 30 hours per month. So that's going to be 12 projects per year. Once you've got your total yearly income goal and you know how many projects you can fit in during the year, we're going to divide them again. So for my example, my total yearly income goal is $53,500. Now I'm going to divide it by how many projects I'm going to fit in during the year. So I'm going to divide it by 12, and that equals $4,459 per project. So I'm going to need to charge $4,459 per project and secure 12 clients. And if I do that, I'm going to 100% meet my income goal of $53,500, which is going to be around $40,000 after tax. Okay, so you should have an idea of your pricing now. You've done the math, hopefully. You've done some market and audience research, and maybe you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable with how much you need to charge to actually make a living. This is a totally normal feeling when you just start out. It's called Imposter Syndrome, and it's very common among new web designers, new business owners, anyone charging money for anything. So basically, this is just like where you doubt your abilities and feel like you're not good enough to charge full price for your services. But this can really hold you back from charging what you actually need to charge. And ultimately, it can negatively impact your business. So if you're feeling like this, I recommend, number one, focus on your skills and expertise and remind yourself of the skills and knowledge that you bring to the table. You are offering valuable services to your clients. Even if you don't think you're super skilled just yet, you're still always more skilled than the person that you're doing the work for. So you'll be bringing value to them no matter what. And then focus on upskilling as much as you can, because if you feel really confident in your skills, you're going to be much more confident to charge what you need to charge. So just keep practicing and just get really confident in your skills, because that's going to make you really confident in your pricing. Number 2 is do the market research. So when you research what others in the industry are charging, you're probably going to see that so many others are charging similar prices. The prices that you feel are quite high maybe are quite common. And hopefully this will make you feel more at ease with your pricing. Remember, as you grow and develop your skills, your confidence in your pricing will naturally increase. I promise that feeling will go away. So don't let your feelings right now of being unqualified influence the decision about how much you charge. In the wise words of Jenna Kutcher, and I learned a lot of this stuff basically from this one quote that will always stick with me: base your pricing on an equation, not an emotion. Don't be afraid to charge what your products are worth, and always be open to adjusting your prices as your business grows and evolves. After all, it's your business. You can do whatever you want. Okay, guys, I hope you were taking notes. That's it for me. I really hope this video will help you come up with your pricing for your web design business. If you're interested in more tips about becoming a website designer or selling Squarespace templates in your business, check out this video, which is 4 ways to make more money as a web designer. We go over some really simple ways to increase your income if you've got a web design business or if you're a freelance web designer, including more info on selling templates, which is my absolute fave. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and I will see you next week.